Hello. I'd like to share a clip with you from a recent non-duality session. The attendee is coming from the neo-Advaita message. And the neo-Advaita message, even though as well-intended as it is, most of the time can leave the attendees frustrated. And the reason is because it's a shallow message. The message does not dive deep into the mechanics of the one reality. And it seems like our minds need substance to grab onto to understand that if this truth is real or not. And when you just have a very shallow message, it can just leave you frustrated. The other issue with it is that it seems to be somewhat nihilistic, right? The message of happiness or love or beauty just doesn't seem to be prevalent through it. It might mention it from time to time, but it's not its overall message. And that's where Advaita comes into play, because Advaita, the overarching message is that your true nature is happy. You are already happy. You just need to remember that. Well, when she asked the question, do others exist? I knew exactly where she was coming from. So I do my best to demonstrate the mechanics of the one reality so that she can see that she herself is the one that's being pointed to. And if she chooses to turn her attention to that, she will experience the beautiful qualities of her ever-loving self. She is asked to stay anonymous in this video, so that's why you only see me talking. Take care.
So then does it mean that other people don't exist?
Does that mean that other people don't exist?
Yeah, it's just you.
That's what solipsism is you, that there's one mind, and you are that one mind. This is more radical than that. It's saying that mind that thinks it has a mind, there's something prior to that. That being is what's being pointed to here. And that being, we all share the same being. So when you know yourself, when you know your being, you know all others as yourself as well. To answer your question more directly is that nothing has a standalone existence separate from the one reality of yourself, of awareness. Nothing ever pulls itself apart from awareness to stand separate from awareness, to be able to point back to awareness and go, awareness is over here and I'm over here. Or awareness is over there and I'm over here. So that's why there is no separation here. That's why there can be total unity in love. Because nothing ever pulls itself apart from the love of consciousness, or the love of being, or the love of existence. So, to come back to your question again, nothing, no thing has its own standalone reality apart from the love of yourself. So when you come back to yourself, when you turn your attention within via self-inquiry, and you start to understand what self is again, when you start to remember who you are and the beautiful qualities of yourself, then that's all you know is this experience of happiness and peace. So that when you turn your attention back out into the world and you perceive the world, you only perceive the world as you know yourself. So if I'm happy, then the world is happy, regardless of what the world is doing. You only know the underlying reality of everything. Everything has an underlying reality of the one reality of yourself. That's how we explain how it's impossible to have separation and suffering. Because there's only one substance here, you could call it, the substance of awareness, that is appearing as many. Right? I like to say, if this is consciousness or awareness, right? So when I say being or existence or consciousness or awareness, those are all synonymous. I can use those interchangeably and they're the same thing. Okay? So if this is consciousness, if this is the one substance of reality, this in its raw form is it's infinite and formless. What appears in front of us right now is a apparent multitude of objects. And all that is in this means that consciousness has just collapsed itself into a finite form of itself. But it never separates itself from itself. It's the one substance in a formless, infinite form, or a finite form. It's activity. You could call this the activity of this. But it never becomes separate from itself. That is the key takeaway here. That's what allows the possibility of the experience of unity, of the absence of separation. And the more you come back and know yourself, the more you come back and know consciousness as yourself, you experience this. This is still happening. We don't deny this out in the world, the activity of consciousness. And now we don't deny consciousness, in its purest form, you could say. They're both happening simultaneously, but never separate from one another. That's why there can't be separate people. Again, to come back and answer your question. Nobody exists. That would be, we want to say, we pulled ourselves away from consciousness and we're out here being active and we aren't attached to that anymore. We exist independently of this. That's not the case. That's what it appears. All right? So now we're getting into, why does it appear that I feel separate? And this is the real question, right? Okay, I get it. I'm all in. I love this. But I feel separate. And it's in the rising of the ego. The ego pulls itself away from the love of itself. And in that pulling away from itself, it takes itself to be separate from consciousness. And in that separateness, because it believes it's separate, when it peers out into the manifestation, and it turns all of these objects into separate individual objects that appear to have their own existence. Like it thinks it has its own separate existence.